They had watched Earth for a very long time. They were an old species, cold and careful. Their empire covered 47 worlds, and they had won every war they ever fought. Now they needed workers for their mining colonies. The mines were dangerous and the tunnels were small. They needed small workers who could survive in bad conditions. Human children, they decided, were perfect. They knew many things about humans. They knew how human bodies worked. They knew what human ships could do. They knew humans had weak weapons and slow ships. What they did not know was human history. They did not know what humans did when someone took their children. They chose a small colony called Nu. It was far from Earth, far from help, and had only a few thousand people. The colony grew food and lived peacefully. It had almost no defenses. The attack came early in the morning. The sun was just rising when ships came down through the clouds. Most parents were already at work in the farming domes far from home. The children were eating breakfast or getting ready for school. Was not on the planet that morning. She was a captain in the Korean Space Force, and she was on the defense station that circled above the colony. She saw the ships on her screen. She tried to fire the station's weapons. Nothing happened. They had killed all their power with a single pulse. She could only watch. Down on the surface, her 2 children were eating rice and soup when the door exploded. Was 8 years old. Her brother was 11. They had no time to run. Tall creatures with 4 arms grabbed them and carried them to the waiting ships. Screamed for her mother. Tried to fight, kicking and biting, but the creatures were too strong. In 12 minutes, they took 43 children. Then their ships rose into the sky and disappeared. They left nothing behind. No message, no demand, no explanation. They simply took what they wanted and left. When the power came back, took a shuttle down to the surface. She walked through her broken door. She saw the spilled breakfast on the floor. She saw her daughter's favorite toy lying in the corner. She stood there for a long time, not moving, not crying, not speaking. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes were dry. 6 hours later, she stood before the United Earth Defense Council. The room was full of important people from Earth and all its colonies. They looked at her with sad eyes. Some of them expected her to cry or beg for help. She did neither. "I am requesting permission to get our children back," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "I need volunteers." The council members looked at each other. One of them, an old general, shook his head slowly. "Captain, we understand your pain, but they are powerful. We do not even know where they went. A rescue mission would be." "I did not ask for your opinion," said. "I asked for permission." The room went quiet. Within 1 day, every parent on Nu had volunteered to join the mission. Then parents from other colonies added their names. Then soldiers who had no children volunteered too. They did not care about the danger. They did not think about the odds. They only knew that human children had been taken, and that was not acceptable. The volunteer list grew to 1 million names, then 2 million, then 4 million. An old woman named came to the recruitment office on the 3rd day. She was 67 years old. She walked slowly and her hair was. The young officer at the desk looked at her with surprise. "Ma'am, this is for combat volunteers," he said politely. "Perhaps you want the support services." Looked at him. Her eyes were hard. "I was a combat engineer before you were born, boy. I can still build a bomb and I can still fire a gun." "But ma'am, your age. If it were your grandchild, would you stay home?" The officer was quiet for a moment. Then he handed her the form. News of the kidnapping spread across the galaxy. The other alien species watched with interest. The who were traitors sent a message of sympathy. They said humans should accept their loss. They were too strong, they said. Fighting them was foolish. The species, who were philosophers, said humans should find peace in their hearts. They should accept that the universe was sometimes cruel. They were warriors, and they respected human courage. But they calculated the chances of success and found them to be almost zero. Humanity ignored all of them. In the home system, Commander received a report about the human response. He read it carefully, then set it aside. These humans were making noise, he thought. It meant nothing. They were a young species with weak ships and primitive weapons. They could not cross the vast distance to space, and even if they did, they would be destroyed easily. He went back to his other work and forgot about the humans. This was his first mistake. Far away in the growing human fleet, Captain looked at a picture of her children. Smile, serious eyes. She touched the image gently. "I'm coming," she whispered. "Hold on, Mama is coming." She put the picture away and went back to planning the mission. She would find her children. She would bring them home, and anyone who stood in her way would learn why humans were so dangerous. The hunt was about to begin. Admiral stood on the bridge of his ship, the Unyielding. Through the window, he could see the human fleet gathering. 47 ships. It was everything humanity could spare. Behind him, officers worked at their stations, preparing for a journey into unknown space. Was 60 years old. He had hair and a face full of wrinkles. He had fought in 3 wars and had seen many terrible things, but he had never felt this kind of anger before. This was not about territory or resources. This was about children, human children stolen from their beds. The fleet carried 12,000 soldiers and 400 special operations fighters. It also carried 2,000 civilians who had refused to stay behind. These were parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. They had no military training. They did not care. They were coming anyway. The first problem was simple but terrible. Nobody knew where they lived. Their space was not on any map. Their ships used different routes than everyone else. The galaxy was vast, and finding one planet in all that darkness was nearly impossible. But humans did not accept impossible. Intelligence officer was given the task of finding the. She was 32 years old and had spent her career studying alien communications. Now she worked without rest, searching for any clue that might help. She did not sleep. She barely ate. Her eyes became red and her hands started to shake from too much coffee. When her commander ordered her to rest, she refused. "Those children are waiting," she said. "I will rest when we find them." She studied everything: old trade records, ship movements, pieces of alien messages that other species had collected over many years. She put all the data together, looking for patterns that no one else could see. On the 18th day, she found something. A trader had once seen ships near a distant star cluster. An explorer had picked up strange signals from the same area. A patrol had detected unusual energy readings close by. None of these clues meant anything alone, but together, they pointed to a region of space that no one had explored. Marked the location on her map and sent it to Admiral. "I cannot be certain," she said, her voice rough from exhaustion, "but this is our best chance." Looked at the map for a long moment, then he nodded. "Set course," he ordered. While the main fleet traveled, Captain led scout ships ahead. Her mission was to find exact locations and gather information. She flew a small, fast vessel with a crew of 20. They moved through dangerous space, always watching for enemy ships. Slept only 2 hours each night. She ate only when her crew forced food into her hands. Her eyes had dark circles under them and she had lost weight, but she never complained. She never slowed down. On the 7th day of scouting, her ship detected a patrol. Most captains would have hidden or run away. The ship was bigger and had better weapons. Fighting it was risky. Did not hide, she did not run. "Disable their engines," she ordered, "then we board." Her crew looked at her with surprise, but they obeyed. The battle was short and violent. Ship took damage, but they knocked out the enemy's engines, then led the boarding team herself. She was first through the door, weapon in hand. The crew was shocked. They had expected the humans to flee. Instead, these strange creatures were inside their ship, moving fast and fighting hard. Within minutes, the surrendered. Sat down across from the commander. He was tall and with 4 arms and black eyes. He looked at her with something like confusion. "What do you want?" he asked. "Coordinates," said. "Tell me where your mining world is, the one where you keep the human children." The commander made a clicking sound. It was laughter. "You will never reach it. Even if you knew where it was, our fleet would destroy you." Did not move. She did not raise her voice. She just looked at him. "I have time," she said quietly. "Do you?" Something in her eyes made the commander stop laughing. He had fought many species in his life. He had seen warriors and soldiers from dozens of worlds, but he had never seen anything like what was in this human's eyes. It was not anger, it was not hate, it was something worse. It was absolute certainty. This creature would never stop, she would never give up. She would follow him to the end of the universe. He told her what she wanted to know. Later, he would speak to the Galactic Council about that moment. "I have faced death many times," he said. "I was not afraid of dying, but that human, she made me understand something. She would have sat there forever. She would have waited days, weeks, years. She did not need to threaten me. Her patience was the threat." Sent the coordinates to Admiral. Then she returned to her ship and continued forward. The fleet adjusted course. Across the galaxy, the other species watched with growing interest. They stopped offering sympathy and started placing bets. They began recalculating their predictions. They composed new songs about the strange humans who would not accept loss. And in the command center, reports started arriving. A patrol had been captured. A scout ship had been detected. Humans were coming. Commander read the reports with growing surprise. These primitive creatures had actually found them. They were actually coming to fight. He ordered his fleet to prepare for battle. He was not worried. He had 180 warships. The humans had less than 50. The mathematics were clear. But somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice whispered a question. What kind of species crosses the galaxy for 43 children? He pushed the thought away. He should not have. The mining world was called 7. It was a dark planet with poisonous air and endless tunnels underground. They had been digging here for centuries, pulling valuable minerals from the rock. The 43 human children arrived in chains. They were tired and scared and far from home. The guards pushed them into underground rooms and locked the doors. Then they gave them simple instructions. Work in the mines, follow orders, do not make trouble. They expected the children to obey. Other species they had captured always broke quickly. Fear and hopelessness usually worked within a few days. The children would cry, then give up, then become quiet workers. The human children did not do this. Was 11 years old. Back on New, he had been an ordinary boy. He liked playing games and reading adventure stories. He was not a leader and he was not brave. But when they took him and his little sister, something changed inside him. On the first night, while the younger children cried, walked around the room, he counted every child. He learned their names. He told them that crying was okay, but they had to be smart too. "Our parents are coming," he said. His voice shook a little, but he kept talking. "We just have to wait. We have to survive until they get here." Some children did not believe him. How could their parents find them? This place was so far away. The aliens were so strong. Had no good answers, but he kept repeating the same thing every night. "They are coming, hold on." The children started to organize, put them into small groups. Each group had older children to protect younger ones. They shared their food equally. They helped each other when the work was too hard. When they told them to work faster, the children worked slower instead. Not slow enough to get punished badly, but slow enough to cause problems. Production numbers dropped. They could not understand why. His 8-year-old sister was small and quiet. The guards did not pay attention to her. She used this to her advantage. While other children worked in the mines, explored, she crawled through air vents that were too small for adult. She memorized every corridor. She counted guards and watched their movements. She drew maps in her head and remembered everything. After 2 weeks, she knew the facility better than the who ran it. "There are 4 ways out," she told her brother one night, whispering in the dark. "2 are always guarded. One goes through the power station. One leads to the landing area where ships come in." Hugged her, "Good job, little one. Keep watching, keep learning." Another child, a 14-year-old girl named, had been studying engineering at school before the kidnapping. She understood machines and how things worked. In the mines, she started to sabotage equipment. She was very careful. She never broke anything completely. She just made small problems that would grow into big problems later. A wire loosened here, a connection weakened there. Nothing obvious. Nothing that would make the guards suspicious. After a month, machines started failing all over the facility. The engineers could not find the cause. They blamed the equipment. They blamed each other. They never suspected the quiet 14-year-old girl who cleaned their workrooms. The children also developed their own secret language. It was based on a game they used to play at school on Nu. They tapped on pipes with small rocks, sending messages from one area to another. They heard the tapping but thought it was just noise from the machinery. Through this system, the children shared information. They warned each other about angry guards. They passed messages of hope. They reminded each other every day that rescue was coming. The administrator, a creature named, grew worried. He sent reports to his superiors. "These human specimens are strange," he wrote. "They do not break. We have tried punishment and isolation, but they continue to resist. They seem to be communicating somehow, but we cannot discover their method. Their production is low and equipment failures are increasing. I request more guards." His superiors the request. They were busy preparing for something else now. Reports had come in about a human fleet approaching their space. The military needed all available resources. Was told to handle the children with what he had. He did not realize that he had already lost control. One night gathered the children together in their sleeping room. He spoke very quietly, knowing that guards might be listening. "I heard the guards talking today," he said. "There is a fleet coming. Human ships are ships." The room went silent. Then a young boy, only 6 years old, asked the question everyone was thinking. "Are they coming for us?" Nodded, "Yes, they are coming for us." For the first time in weeks, some of the children smiled. "What do we do?" asked. Looked around at the faces watching him. These were children who had been stolen from their homes, children who had been forced to work in dark tunnels, children who had every reason to give up. But they had not given up. "We get ready," he said. "When our parents come, we help them. We know this place better than anyone. We know where the guards are. We know where the weak points are. We are not just waiting to be saved. We are going to help save ourselves." The children nodded. Some were scared, all were tired, but none of them had lost hope. Far above them, in the black space between stars, the human fleet was getting closer. And inside the mining facility, 43 children were preparing for the day when their parents would kick down the doors. They had thought they captured helpless victims. They were wrong. They had captured humans, and humans, even the small ones, never stopped fighting. The human fleet appeared at the edge of space like ghosts coming out of darkness. 47 ships against an empire. It was madness. It was suicide. It was exactly what humans did when someone took their children. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Unyielding and looked at the enemy positions. They had 180 warships waiting for them. Their weapons were stronger. Their shields were better. Their ships were faster. Every calculation said the humans would lose. Did not care about calculations. "Open a channel to the enemy commander," he ordered. Commander appeared on the screen. He was tall and with 4 arms folded across his chest. His black eyes showed no fear, only the confidence of a predator facing weak prey. "You have entered space without permission," said. "Your ships will be destroyed. Your species will be punished. Surrender now and we may show mercy." His response was simple. "Return our children within 6 hours. This is not a request." Made the clicking sound that was laughter. "You are outnumbered 4-1. Your technology is primitive. You cannot win this fight. What makes you think you can threaten us?" "We are parents," said. "You took our children. Your numbers mean nothing." The communication ended. 6 hours passed. The children were not returned. Admiral gave the order to attack. What happened next would be remembered for a very long time. The human fleet did not fight like any enemy that had faced before. Normal fleets tried to find advantages. They protected their ships. They retreated when damaged. They made smart choices to survive. The humans did none of these things. They pushed forward, straight through the enemy lines. They took terrible damage. Ships burned and broke apart. Hundreds of humans died in the first minutes, but the fleet did not stop. It did not slow down. It kept moving toward the planet where the children were held. Captain was in the middle of the battle. Her destroyer, the Spirit of Nu, led one of the attack groups. Enemy fire hit her ship again and again. 17 direct impacts. Fires broke out in 3 sections. The engines were failing. Her crew begged her to pull back. The ship could not take much more damage. "No," she said, "keep moving forward." A cruiser blocked their path. It was twice the size of its destroyer and had much bigger weapons. Normal tactics would say go around it, find another way. Looked at the cruiser. Then she looked at the planet behind it. Her children were on that planet. "All ahead full," she ordered. "Hit them." Her crew stared at her. "Ma'am." "Ram them now." The Spirit of Nu accelerated. The cruiser fired everything it had. Explosions ripped through the human ship. Bulkheads collapsed. Crew members died at their stations. But the ship kept moving. When it hit the cruiser, the impact broke both vessels. The ship spun out of control, its hull torn open. The human destroyer was barely floating, half of it destroyed. But it had created a hole in the enemy line. And through that hole, the troop transports flew toward the planet. Was pulled from the wreckage by rescue teams. She had broken ribs, a collapsed lung, and burns on her arms. She was barely conscious. "The transports," she whispered, "did they get through?" "Yes, ma'am, they are landing now." She closed her eyes. Good. On the planet's surface, the ground assault began. The 67-year-old grandmother was in the first wave. Her transport landed hard, throwing soldiers against the walls. Before the door was fully open, she was moving. Her weapon was in her hands and her eyes were fixed on the building ahead. A young soldier ran beside her. "Ma'am, shouldn't you stay back and—" "My granddaughter is not on this planet," said, "but someone's grandchild is. Move faster." They reached the facility entrance. Guards waited inside, their weapons ready. The fighting was close and brutal. Humans fell. The corridor floors became slippery with blood. Saw a guard blocking the path to the lower levels. He was big and heavily armored. He had killed 2 soldiers already. She did not wait for backup. She raised her weapon and walked straight toward him. The guard fired at her. The shot hit her shoulder. She stumbled but did not fall. She kept walking. Her face showed nothing. No pain, no fear, just determination. She fired 3 times. The guard fell. Other soldiers rushed past her, heading deeper into the facility. A medic tried to stop her to treat her wound. "Later," she said, "children first." She kept walking, leaving a trail of blood behind her. Throughout the facility, humans poured in from every entrance. The guards fought hard, but they were facing something they had never encountered. These humans absorbed punishment that would stop other species. They took wounds that should have killed them and kept fighting. They did not pause. They did not hesitate. They were not fighting for territory or resources or pride. They were fighting for their children, and that made them impossible to stop. In space, the battle continued. The human fleet was being destroyed. Only half the ships were still fighting, but they had done their job. The transports had landed. The soldiers were inside, and now nothing would stop them from reaching the children. Commander watched his tactical display with growing horror. His fleet was winning. His ships were stronger, but the humans would not stop coming. Every time one of their ships died, the others pushed forward even harder. "What are these creatures?" he whispered. No one answered. Deep underground in the children's quarters, heard explosions getting closer. He gathered the other children around him. "It is time," he said. "Everyone knows what to do." They nodded, 43 faces, dirty and tired but full of hope. "Remember what I told you," said. "Stay together, follow the plan, our parents are here." The explosions came closer. Then they heard something else. Voices, human voices shouting in Korean. Grabbed her brother's hand. "They came," she whispered. "I told you they would come." The door exploded inward. Human soldiers poured through. And at the front, despite her injuries, despite the doctors trying to hold her back, was Captain. She had refused to stay on the ship. She had refused medical treatment. She had demanded to lead the rescue team herself. Nothing in the universe would keep her from being first through that door. Her eyes found her children across the room. For one heartbeat, the war stopped. The noise faded away. There was only a mother and her children seeing each other for the first time in weeks. Then screamed "Mama" and ran toward her. Caught her daughter and fell to her knees, holding her tight. Was there a moment later, wrapping his arms around both of them. Around them, soldiers found other children, crying, laughing, holding each other. The sounds of joy mixed with the distant sounds of battle. All 43 children were alive. The mission was complete. The battle ended slowly. The fleet, broken and confused, stopped fighting when they learned that the human ground forces had taken the mining facility. Commander sent a message of surrender. He had lost nearly 40 ships. The humans had lost more than half their fleet, but the humans had won. They had won because they refused to lose. The rescue transports lifted off from the planet's surface. Inside, the 43 children sat with their rescuers. Some cried quietly. Some slept for the first time in weeks without fear. Some just stared at the walls, still trying to believe it was real. Captain sat with and on either side of her. Her injuries were serious. Medical officers kept telling her she needed surgery. She ignored them. "I will get treatment when we are home," she said, "not before." Her children held her hands and would not let go. In another part of the transport, sat with her wound finally bandaged. A young girl, maybe 7 years old, had fallen asleep against her shoulder. Did not know this child. She had no on new, but she stroked the girl's hair gently anyway. "You are safe now, little one," she whispered. "You are safe." The journey home took many days. The surviving ships moved slowly, damaged and tired, but news traveled faster. By the time the fleet reached human space, the whole galaxy knew what had happened. The Galactic Council demanded a meeting. Representatives from every major species gathered in the Great Hall. The traders, the philosophers, the warriors, the now broken and afraid, and the humans led by Ambassador. The other species wanted answers. How had this happened? How had a primitive species crossed the galaxy, defeated a superior enemy and rescued their people? It should have been impossible. Ambassador stood before the council. She was a small woman with hair and gentle eyes. She did not look like a warrior. She looked like someone's grandmother. "You want to know how we did it," she said. Her voice was soft but carried through the silent hall. "The answer is simple. We had no choice." She paused, looking at the faces around her. Those were our children, our sons and daughters, our future. When they took them, they did not just take 43 small bodies. They took pieces of our hearts. The ambassador shifted uncomfortably. "But the odds were against you. Our calculations showed." "We do not care about odds," said. "We do not calculate whether we should save our children. We simply do it." She turned to face the representative. He was small for his species, and he could not meet her eyes. "You studied our biology," she continued. "You analyzed our technology. You measured our weapons and our ships, but you did not study our history. You did not see what we do when someone threatens our families." She took a step forward. "Hundreds of years ago, there was a kingdom that took children from families to use as soldiers and slaves. The parents of those children walked across mountains in winter to get them back. Many died on the journey. They did not care. They kept walking." Another step. "In our wars, when enemies captured our people, we did not abandon them. We traded, we negotiated, we fought. We never stopped trying to bring them home." Another step. "This is what we are. This is what you should have known before you took our children. We will burn through every ship in our fleet. We will spend every resource we have. We will chase you to the edges of the universe. There is no distance far enough. There is no fortress strong enough. If you take our children, we will come for them." The hall was completely silent. "And we will never, ever stop." The representative's hands were shaking. Other species looked at the humans with new understanding. This was not a weak species. This was not a primitive species. This was something else entirely. After a long moment, the warrior leader stood. His species respected strength and courage above all things. He walked to Ambassador and bent his head in a gesture of deep respect. "We miscalculated," he said. "We measured your ships and weapons. We should have measured your hearts." The Council voted that day on a new addition to the Galactic Charter. It passed with every species supporting it, including the human children are protected under absolute prohibitions, no exceptions, no circumstances. The penalty for violating this law was left deliberately vague. It did not need to be specific. Everyone understood. If you took a human child, humans would come, and they would not stop until they got their child back or until they had destroyed everything in their way. Years later, a historian wrote about the incident. Her book was read across the galaxy. "Many species love their offspring," she wrote. "Many will fight for their families, but humans are different. When you threaten a human child, you do not create fear, you create focus. Every human becomes a single weapon pointed at you. They do not think about risk. They do not calculate costs. They simply come." They made a terrible mistake. They thought they were taking prisoners. Instead, they were waking up the most dangerous force in the galaxy, human parents. On New, the colony rebuilt. The children grew up. They carried scars, both visible and invisible, but they survived. A monument was built in the colony square. It listed every ship in the rescue fleet, every soldier who fought, every civilian who volunteered, every person who refused to accept that those children were lost. At the base of the monument, carved in stone, were simple words that every human child learned from birth. "We will always come for you." Captain retired from the military. She wanted to spend more time with her children. She watched grow into a young woman. She watched become a teacher. She was there for their graduations, their weddings, their own children. Sometimes, late at night, she still dreamed about the battle. She dreamed about the fires and the explosions and the terrible fear that she would be too late. But then she would wake up, and she would remember that she had not been too late. Her children were safe. And that was all that mattered. Across the galaxy, other species told stories about the humans who crossed the stars for 43 children. The stories grew with each telling. Some said the human fleet was larger than it really was. Some said the battle was longer and harder than it had been. But the core of every story was the same. Do not take human children. Do not threaten human families, because humans will come for what they love and nothing in the universe can stop them. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Human children were off limits. Forever.